Once again, Steve Morris, Vice President of Training and Sales for Dynamic Air Quality Solutions. And one of the questions that we get a lot from managers is, my guys they understand the technology of indoor air quality. You guys have done an awesome job on training them on the technology, but they don't know how to take technical information and put it in layman's terms on every single call. So what I'd like to go through today is what we call the anatomy of a service or maintenance call. And it all starts with certain transition statements that you have to do on certain parts during the call. Okay, it all starts when you pull up in someone's home. You want to make sure all your texting, your phone calls are out of the way. So when you're pulling up there, you're ready to go. So you walk up to the door with a smile on your face and you knock on the door. And the first thing I want you to ask them, you want to get as many yeses as you can. You want to get agreements and get on their side. You want to win the customer's trust. And if you park your truck in the correct spot, we believe that you should park the truck in the street. I know there's exceptions to that rule, but the reason you do it is you want to make sure you don't block their exit, and you want to make sure you don't get any fluids or oil on the driveway. So you knock on the door, take a couple steps back, you do your little meet and greet, tell them who you are, and acknowledge the reason you're there. I'm here to do your service on your equipment or the maintenance. And then the first question I want you to ask them is it okay if I park my truck there? And if they say yes, that's fine, but I also want you to, here again, win their trust and validate the reason you did it. The reason I did that, Mrs. Jones, is I want to make sure I don't block your exit or get any fluids on the driveway. And right there, in their mind, well, that was nice of them to do. If you just say, is it okay if I park my truck there, or don't say anything, it doesn't build the value of the reason you did it. So we get that question out of the way, get an agreement from them. Okay, next, obviously, we want to have a conversation of thermostat. That's the best place to open the dialogue with the homeowner. So instead of saying, a lot of times guys will say, where's your thermostat? And the homeowner goes, well, it's right over there, and he points there, and they're expecting you to go over there. We want to have a conversation with them at the thermostat. So what we like to say is just change that little bit and say, can you lead me to your thermostat? And use this motion. Because when you say that to somebody, they're not just going to say, well, it's over there. You've asked them to lead you to the thermostat. Then 9 times out of 10, they're going to walk over to the thermostat with you. So once you get to the thermostat, there's going to be certain questions you're going to ask. A lot of them are on your own. You have any hot and cold spots? What's the challenge today? Is there any noises? Is there anything that I need to be aware of before I get going on my maintenance or my service call? I want you to add one more question to that. And anytime during this questioning process, it could come up. But the question is, how do you like your thermostat? The reason I want you to ask that really opens up a conversation in a lot of cases. Because they aren't, sometimes they don't even like their thermostat. Or they might say, this is perfect, I get it. A lot of times they're programmable, they're like an iPad on a wall, and the homeowner doesn't even know how to work it. So that gives you an opportunity to, first of all, find out if they like their thermostat and maybe they want to upgrade, or maybe they don't like what they have and they want to downgrade. Either way, it might be an opportunity for you to solve a problem for them. So once again, that opens up the conversation. The next thing, and this is very important, is we have to transition from the thermostat into the diagnostic stage or the maintenance stage of the call. And there has to be a transition question. And it goes something like this. You know, Betty, I'm here anyway. I'm going to do a thorough inspection of your unit. While I'm doing the inspection, if I discover anything that affects the performance of the equipment or the health and safety of your family, would you like me to fix it or bring it to your attention? Or you can say, would you like me to bring it to your attention or go ahead and fix it? There's many different ways of saying that. And some guys aren't even comfortable saying that. And it doesn't matter as long as there's a transition and you're asking the question, you're asking for permission for what you're going to do anyway. Because when you do come up with some challenges, the last thing you want to do is after the diagnostic and say, here, I got 39 different things wrong with your system. And like, weren't you just doing a maintenance or weren't you just checking the noise? Where'd all that come from? It comes from you asking for permission to do an inspection of the unit, let them know you're going to do it. If I discover anything that affects the performance of the equipment or health and safety of your family, would you like me to share that with you? That's a very important transition. And I know many of you have heard different ways of saying that. And once again, put it into your own words. That gets you from the thermostat to do your diagnostic stage or your maintenance. Then go do the best inspection and the best thorough maintenance that you've ever done. I want you to think it like you're doing it for your mother. Hopefully you love your mother, and if you do, that's what I want you to do. Just like you're doing it for your own home or your mother, do the best inspection or the best maintenance or service that's known to man. That way, you're going to do a lot of things. That you're going to take your readings. You're going to take pictures. I want you to really communicate with the homeowner, because at the end of the day, you're going to find things that are affecting the performance of the equipment and the health and safety of your family. And it's our job to inform the homeowner that there's these challenges. It's not our job to convince them to fix anything, to convince them to buy something. Our job is to inform. They can make their own decisions if it fits into their budgets or their needs. So once you perform this maintenance, during that diagnostic or maintenance stage, you're going to see some things. One of the things we'd like you to do is on every single call, and I know we get arguments on this and challenges, but pull the blower wheel. It's usually just 2 screws. It takes 5 minutes to pull out. I know sometimes there's modules and things in the way, but the reason we want you to do that is so that they can see the actual blower wheel, and it's going to be dirty. It's the only way it's going to be clean is if they have good filtration. So when you open that up and you see that there's some dirt, dust, or debris in there, sometimes it's really bad. Other times it's just a little bit. What we'd like you to do is take a baby wipe. Take a baby wipe and take 2 or 3 of those fins and clean them really well. Once you clean them real well, you're going to see the contrast between dirty and clean. Another reason we'd like you to pull the blower wheel is that now you can go look in certain markets, you can go look at the secondary heat exchanger. It's easier to get a picture of it. Then get a picture of the coil as well. You're going to use all this as evidence when you get into bringing up indoor air quality on the call. So now you're seeing the contrast between dirty and clean fins, but we need to show that to the homeowner. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to say, hey Sally, remember at the thermostat when I asked you if I found anything that affects the performance of equipment or health or safety of your family? Well, I discovered something I'd like to share with you. You got about 30 seconds? Have them come down with you. Just like you want to talk to them at the thermostat, you also want to have this conversation right at their equipment so they can physically see it. Now you're showing it to them. Okay, Sally, I took the opportunity here to take a look at your blower wheel, and as you can see, there's some dirt here. So I cleaned a couple of fins so that you can see the contrast between what it should look like, factory fresh conditions, and what it looks like when it's a little bit dirty. When it gets a little bit of dirt on it, even just a little bit, it affects the performance of this blower wheel. It could affect up to 30%. So the challenge here is to keep it clean. And as you can see, there's some dirt gotten through here. So what is it getting through? It's getting through their filter. So is there any reason why you wouldn't want to look at a better filter, maybe towards the end of the call here? That's a great transition into filtration. Now, the reason might be pricing or whatever they bring up, but it's a question you're going to ask at that time during a call. Also, what I'd like you to do is we've got a consumer handbook here. We also have this on our literature. The reason we put these pictures here is so that you can have another conversation with the homeowner, have them rate their piece of equipment. And you can show them right here. This is a blower wheel, Sally. This is what it's supposed to look like, factory fresh conditions. When it gets dirt on it, it runs harder. As it runs harder, it's going to build up your energy bill because it's going to try to push stuff through a dirty blower wheel, dirty secondary heat exchanger, a dirty coil, and you can show them all these pictures. Each one of those is going to have some buildup, and it's going to have to work harder to get air through it. If it's working harder to get air through it, what's going to happen? Their energy bill is going to go up. And that's a great question. What do you think is going to happen if it's going to pushing harder and working 2 to 3 times harder? Is your energy bill going to go up or down? They're going to have, obviously it's going to go up. So what I'd like you to do then is take these pictures in our consumer handbook, and the same pictures are on the literature. And as you can see, we got the clean ones. This is a perfectly clean blower wheel, perfectly clean coil and secondary heat exchanger, perfectly clean ductwork. And these are the ones we're going to concentrate on right here. So you show them the blower wheel and you have them rate it. This, let's say, Sally, that this is a 10. This is the best it's going to get. And this is 1. This is the worst it's going to get. So between 1 and 10, what would you rate yours to be? They're going to give you a number. They're probably not going to say 10 because it's not going to be really clean. They're probably not going to say 1. When we ask this question, the most common answer we get is 5. I don't know why. Maybe people just pick the average. But when no matter what number they say, they've just told you that they have a challenge. So it's not you saying to them that there's a challenge. It's them saying, yeah, I'll rate mine as a 5. Whatever number they give you, now you can say, go to the next one. Now here's a picture of your secondary heat exchanger or a picture of your coil. This is perfectly clean, factory fresh conditions, and this is when it's working at peak efficiency. We're not having to force air through it. It can transfer the heat like it's supposed to, and it can cool your home or heat your home with a secondary heat exchanger. So, and this is a perfectly clean one. This is a neglected one, 100% neglected. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate yours? And once again, they're going to give you a number. So whatever number they give you, it's okay, because here again, it's probably not going to be 1 and probably not going to be 10, but it's going to be somewhere in between, and that's telling them that they have a challenge. So then the question once again comes up is there any reason why you wouldn't want to look at a better filter? Because if you have better filtration, it's going to prevent this from happening. Get their agreement to look at a better filter. Now, here again, our job is to inform and not convince. Now, if they say to you, look, I love my filters, I don't want to look at any other filter, you say okay. But typically, when you ask that question, they're going to say, well, I wouldn't mind looking at a better one if it's going to stop that stuff from happening. And that's the exact reason we're going to show it to them. We want to prevent this from happening in the future, so that they're not overpaying the utility company. So we get agreement from them to show them a better filter. Now, this is not the time to show them the filter. It's the time to ask the question. Now they might say, well, it depends what it costs, or I might not have time, or yeah, I got time a little bit later, or do you show it to me now? Whatever they say, you kind of want to push it off a little bit, because the reason you came there was to do the maintenance, the diagnostic, and the service call. You want to take care of that first. So you kind of push it off, meaning, you know, it's not up to me if you buy the filter or not. I'll talk to you about it afterwards, but I have some things to do here. So the easy transition to that is to say, you know, let me finish up cleaning up here, finish up wiring, finish up taking my readings, putting this back together. When I'm done, can we take a few minutes at the kitchen table and I'll go over it with you? Is that okay with you? That's the transition into talking about indoor air quality. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a positive response to that. Yeah, sure, I'll take some time. So once you get the time, now you're sitting at the kitchen table, okay? So we got all these different transitions that are coming in. If you keep them in mind, by the way, I have this all written down. There's a form you can study. It's in my words, okay? Now, you might not like the way I'm saying it, and that's okay. The whole goal is to look at each one of these transitions, from when you park the truck to when you meet and greet at the door, the conversation at the thermostat, the transition from the thermostat into the piece of equipment, the conversation that you're going to have with the homeowner on the dirt, dust, and debris. And now how do we get into talking, and this is a big question the techs have. I get it. I get the technology. How do I get into the conversation with the homeowner? One of the things you don't want to do is talk technical. You're not going to talk about nanometers and wavelengths and all these things that we've taught you in polarization that you've learned in the technical trainings. We want to talk in layman's terms. That's why simple questions. Is there any reason why you wouldn't want to look at a better filter? That's a simple question. You're not talking about polarization or technology. You're getting agreement to talk about that. Now, what about UV? How do we transition into UV? Well, we've already talked about filtration. We've already showed them the dirt, dust, and debris in your system. Then you would ask another simple question. I was wondering, who in your house suffers from asthma and allergies? There's a time to ask that. It's not when you knock on the door, and it's not the thermostat, because you haven't earned the right to ask the question yet. And I've had technicians say, at the thermostat, I asked who suffers from asthma and allergies, and the homeowner looks at me like, what are you, a doctor? You know, where'd that come from? When you're looking at the piece of equipment with dirt, dust, and debris in it, they might say, well, why would you ask? Well, the same stuff that's affecting the performance of the equipment can also affect your health. That's why I was wondering if anybody suffers from asthma and allergies. It could aggravate it. Then you're going to get all kinds of stories. Oh my God, how'd you know? Johnny, my son has severe asthma and allergies, or my husband or my wife does. Or, you know, it's just seasonal, it's not bad. It doesn't matter what the answer is once again, but it's a good transition into, we have other technology. Filtration is good, we're going to take care of this. This stuff also aggravates asthma and allergies, and biological growth can happen here as well. We got viruses, we got bacteria, we got mold spores. We have products that take care of that as well. So when I'm discussing the filtration with you, I'll give you your other options to take care of all 3 phases of contamination. Is that okay with you? And then what you're going to find is very positive response, because here again, you're informing and you're not convincing. We have other modules as well that takes you from this part, the anatomy, to service call, and it goes through the conversation that you're going to have and the presentation you're going to have with the homeowner at the kitchen table. So for today, what I really want you to get out of it is transition statements, the anatomy to call, how we get into the IAQ conversation to begin with. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Have a great day.